Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Tales of Herding God Part 229 based on novel. So let's start. When that son of Buddha was done, he finally stopped speaking. With a smile on his face, he looked at the devil ape. That devil ape stretched out his furry palm and his 5 thick and black fingers. With a rough voice, he said word by word, "Ultimate." That Buddha didn't understand what he was trying to say and thought hard. After a moment, the devil ape said again, "Emptiness." That son of Buddha frowned and thoughts surfaced in quick succession. The devil ape said, "Have." That son of Buddha trembled and cried out, "Why is there have when there's already emptiness?" The devil ape paid no attention to him and he said, "Silence." That son of Buddha was furious and shouted, "Since there's already have, why can there still be silence? Your words don't suit the Dharma." The devil ape said, "Miniature." That son of Buddha couldn't contain his anger, and was about to refute everything when his body suddenly shook. He froze on the precious elephant, and he looked dumbfounded. He couldn't say a word. Behind him, a big Buddha sighed and said, "Ultimate emptiness have silence, miniature. Truly marvelous, every word is like a pearl and every word is a discussion of Mahayana. When 5 words are linked together, they are great and profound. Kong Seong, you have spoken for an hour and said a lengthy speech, but it's a pity they couldn't be compared to any one word among his 5 words. You've lost, fall back." That son of Buddha got up from the precious elephant, and he bowed towards the devil ape before falling back. Qin Mu was astonished and puzzled. He asked Old Ma, "Grandpa Ma, does Big Fella really have the root of wisdom?" Old Ma said solemnly, "He has much root of wisdom. It's even above mine and higher than Ming Xin." At this point, another son of Buddha came from a heaven above the previous, and behind him followed several Buddha with huge corporeal bodies. Just as he took his seat, this son of Buddha shone brightly around him and the dazzling light shone down from the 20 heavens, lighting up everyone in the monastery. As this Buddha's glorious rays covered all, the monks in the monastery were astonished. This son of Buddha has such high cultivation in Dharma. The devil ape raised his hand and blocked in front of his eyes. His huge hand blocked the Buddha's rays and the shadow of his palm was cast on his face. Just as the son of Buddha, who had just sat down, wanted to debate, he was greatly startled when he saw this sight. Sweetness rushed up his throat as he vomited out a mouthful of fresh blood. He cried out, "Your attainments in Dharma is actually so high. I haven't even had the time to say, and you have already won me in the debate." After he said so, he collapsed backward and his breath was weak. Behind him, those few Buddhas quickly saved him and finally managed to revive him. A Buddha praised, the topic son of Buddha Pu Jiao wanted to debate was what is light. Never did he expect this little son of Buddha had just seen through his question. He truly has no obstruction in debating. Admirable. Admirable. Qin Mu was dumbfounded. He pulled his gaze back from the devil ape's back with difficulty, and looked at Old Ma with doubt. He already couldn't understand such a kind of debate. Old Ma explained, "Son of Buddha Pu Jiao start off the question with light, and he shone brightly with his Buddha's rays. Meanwhile, John Kong raised his hands to block and underneath his palms was darkness. This was to tell him that when there's light, there will be darkness, they are interdependent. Because of that, son of Buddha Pu Jiao's debate was just cut off, and he couldn't say everything that he had pent up in his chest, causing him to vomit blood out. From this, we can see John Kong's root of wisdom." Qin Mu was also speechless. He could see that the cultivation of that son of Buddha Pu Jiao was extremely high. He was most likely a Dharma expert on the celestial being realm. Even if Qin Mu fought with him, he might not be able to defeat him. Never did he expect son of Buddha Pu Jiao to puke blood and almost died, just from the devil ape shielding himself from the light. The devil ape had already debated his way to Lakshmi heaven. The next heaven was Sarasvati heaven. From Sarasvati heaven, several Buddhas came forward with a young son of Buddha, and he sat across the devil ape. That young son of Buddha slowly sat down, and he didn't say much. He just held onto a lotus flower and said, "None." The devil ape said, "Have." That young son of Buddha frowned and put down the lotus. "Have." The devil ape said, "None." That young son of Buddha rose and shouted, "Are you an ordinary folk?" The devil ape shook his head, "I, holy." That young son of Buddha asked with a deafening voice as he shouted, "You are a holy Buddha." The devil ape shook his head again, "I, ordinary." The face of that young son of Buddha flushed and he said angrily, "When my hand have, you said none, when there's none in my hand you said have. You said you are a holy Buddha, so when I ask you if you are a holy Buddha, you said you are an ordinary folk. What are you trying to say?" The Buddhas behind him frowned and they summoned a few Vajras to escort him down. A Buddha apologized to the devil ape, "Forgive him, junior brother, his heart is now in a mess." When treating there's nothing as there's having. Sometimes there's nothing when there's having. When one's heart is holy, holy is also ordinary. The devil ape returned the greeting, but he didn't speak. Qin Mu was dumbstruck and his head was swelling up. He held on to his forehead as he said to Old Ma, "Old Ma, I already can't understand anything at all. I don't have this root of wisdom, it's best I don't listen to it." Old Ma said with a smile, "When I was as old as John Kong, I could never have such attainments. Since you are already confused from listening, let us talk a stroll outside the monastery." Qin Mu felt he was relieved from a burden. The two of them walked out of the monastery, and Old Ma took a deep breath. With a smile, he looked at Qin Mu and said, "Mua, I'm Buddha now and I'm walking further and further away from you. When I don my cassock and sit on the position of Buddha, I'm no longer Old Ma from back then. In my eyes, you are all living things. But when I walk down from my position of Buddha, when I take off that cassock, I will be that Old Ma of our disabled elderly village, Divine Constable Ma. You are the child that I have watched growing up." Qin Mu suddenly hugged him tightly. Old Ma was stunned for a moment. He smiled and pat his back while saying, "John Kong is learning very fast, Mingxin is also a good child. The two of them will be the ones to inherit Great Thunderclap Monastery in the future. When that time comes, I won't be Rulai anymore. I will return back to disabled elderly village, and we will be able to talk and laugh then, drinking wine and having a feast." Qin Mu asked, "Why isn't the Buddhas of the 20 heavens willing to impart their teachings, or to even lend their assistance to the lower bound? Didn't Grandpa Ma ask the reason why?" "I have. A Buddha told me the reason why Great Thunderclap Monastery could be preserved in all the previous disasters was because we don't ask. Once we ask, we won't be protected anymore. They wanted me to not ask as well." Old Ma sighed and said, "This time, what we used was a dirty move taught to me by Mute. Mute told me to order the monks to chant the names of Buddha, and disturb their peace until they could no longer take it. Only then would they talk to you. If we are able to win this debate, the Buddhas of the 20 heavens would allow 3 people to enter the Buddha realm to seek knowledge. However, they still won't let the people of the Buddha realm go down and lend up help. I thought over it carefully, and having 3 places is still better than none." Right at this moment, cheers erupted from the monastery. Qin Mu and Old Ma looked at each other in the eye and they hurriedly rushed back into the monastery. They saw the monks throwing the devil ape high up into the sky, catching up and throwing him back up again. "We won, we have won." All of the monks were cheering excitedly. The devil ape was thrown into the sky and his face was blank and helpless. Qin Mu saw this and he couldn't help feeling suspicious. Looks like big fella still has yet to come to realization. He still doesn't know he had already won, and why he had won. He turned his head around to look at Old Ma and thought to himself. Old Ma is known for being the honest man in the village. Choosing big fella to compete and beat the sons of Buddha of the 20 heavens this time is indeed an extremely intelligent idea. Was it really Old Ma's idea, or is big fella's Dharma really profound? Why do I feel that people of the village are feeding Old Ma mean methods from the shadows? Old Ma had said that the idea of harassing the Buddhas of the 20 heavens was from Mute. Only Mute would be so mean. And the style of annoying people to death, and not paying with one's life, by sending the devil ape out was more like the idea of the frivolous blind. Blind's divine mind's eyes were skilled in finding loopholes. His spear skills didn't have many transformations, or could even be said to have no moves at all, yet he was always able to strike the weak points of his opponents. The reason was because he could see through the truths and lies of all the moves. The devil ape was an ape with few words, and he always spat out word by word, deeply achieving the essence of debating by not debating. If it was a true debate, the monks of Great Thunderclap Monastery probably wouldn't be able to defeat the sons of Buddha, thus debating by not debating had become the crux in achieving victory. And the devil ape was such a person. However, big fella also have a deep root of wisdom. He has astonishing attainments in the cultivation of Dharma. Qin Mu saw the devil ape, and his heart was full of admiration. He doesn't know he had won, and he doesn't know why he had won. Even though he was fighting, his heart is completely clear, and he knows not of victory and defeat. This is then the son of Buddha Yue Guang. No wonder all the Buddhas of the 20 heavens has changed how they addressed him, calling his little junior brother. Come to think of it, since Grandpa Blind and Grandpa Mute had both help out Grandpa Ma, where have they gone to now? Granny Sai and the Black Tiger God, who had returned from Luofu heaven, had also vanished without a trace. This had puzzled him greatly. Eat strong. Qin Mu stayed to eat a vegetarian meal, and the devil ape kept encouraging him to eat more. He would clench his fists from time to flex his arm, showing Qin Mu how his body could become strong by eating a lot. The vegetarian meal of Great Thunderclap Monastery was mostly vegetables, tofu, and buns. In front of the devil ape was a huge iron bowl that was 4 to 5 times larger than a usual big pot. In it were all the pine needles and pine cones that he loved to eat. Qin Mu ate some vegetarian buns and stopped when he was full. Old Ma had wore his cassock back on and returned to his identity as Rulai Ma. He said to the monks, the Buddhas has permitted 3 places to head to the Buddha realm to seek knowledge. Among the 3 places, Yue Guang takes up 1 place, Mingxin takes up 1 place, and I'm hesitant about the last place. Monk Jingming said with a smile, why is Rulai hesitating? Rulai Ma said, senior brother, Yue Guang has the root of wisdom, Mingxin is worldly wise, it's extremely good to send both of them to learn. However, learning Dharma doesn't test the root of wisdom, it tests the comprehension. We need to comprehend Dharma and transform them divine art, turning it into our battle power. Only then can we subdue demons and devils in the future, and deal with future calamities. Having the Buddha nature doesn't mean their battle power could surpass the peers. This is what I'm worried about. Yue Guang and Mingxin both have Buddha nature, but they are both lacking slightly in comprehension. An elderly monk said, in that case, why don't Rulai go over personally? Rulai Ma shook his head and said, I'm already Buddha. I can't cross this world barrier and reach the Buddha realm, therefore I can only find a person with extraordinary comprehension from the younger generation to go in my place. He shall comprehend supreme and marvelous techniques, and pass them down to us. This person has troubled me. The monks of Great Thunderclap Monastery also frowned. Even though Rulai Ma said that the devil ape and Mingxin's comprehension weren't good enough, Rulai Ma's requirement was simply too high. The devil ape and Mingxin's aptitude and comprehension were already the best among the younger generation in Great Thunderclap Monastery. To find a young monk that surpassed them in Great Thunderclap Monastery was absolutely impossible. Rulai Ma looked at Qin Mu, who was currently eating. The devil ape grabbed a bunch of pine needles and pushed them to Qin Mu's face, inviting him to eat. The other monks also looked over and saw Qin Mu taking the pine needles over, kneading them into a biscuit before eating it with the bun. How? Rulai Ma asked the monks. All of the monks said in unison, "Excellent choice. Rulai's judgment is unrivaled. You want me to head to the Buddha realm?" After Qin Mu had finished eating, he was summoned over by Rulai Ma. When he heard his words, his eyes couldn't help widening and he cried out, "I, Heavenly Devil Cult Master, and I even had a grudge with Great Thunderclap Monastery. Won't I be beaten to death by the Buddhas if I am to go to the Buddha realm to seek knowledge?" Rulai Ma said with a smile, "The Buddha realm and the Buddhas have no grudge with you or with Heavenly Saint Cult. The Buddhas have cultivated to Buddhas before founding Emperor era was vanquished, and they had constructed Buddha realm. Meanwhile, the grudge between Great Thunderclap Monastery and Heavenly Saint Cult had happened after founding Emperor era was vanquished. The Buddhas are understanding people, they won't create trouble for you." Qin Mu was still slightly hesitant. This is a chance that was fought for by the monks of Great Thunderclap Monastery. If an outsider like me is to go there to seek knowledge, won't it be breaking the hopes of the monks? Rulai Ma shook his head. "There's only hope if we let you go. Going to Buddha realm to seek knowledge is to learn the supreme Dharma of Great Thunderclap Monastery, Buddhist technique that reaches straight to Emperor's throne. I'm afraid that Zhong Kong and Ming Xin can't comprehend the essence, so it's more suitable for you to go." Qin Mu no longer gave excuses and he said, "When I go to Buddha realm, what should I take note of?" "The local conditions and customs, do as the natives do. You should be very clear yourself, you don't need me to elaborate." Rulai Ma said meaningfully, "The Buddha realm didn't help Great Thunderclap Monastery wasn't because they weren't willing to, it's because they couldn't. Therefore, you have to be careful of an open attack, or a stab in the back." Qin Mu was astonished, and he instantly understood what he was trying to say. Other than fearing that so-called celestial heavens, the reason why the Buddha realm was so careful must be, because the celestial heavens had planted countless eyes and powers in the Buddha realm. When going to the Buddha realm to seek knowledge, these eyes and powers would definitely lay their hands on these monks that had come from the lower bound. One could well imagine the reign of terror within. This was probably the reason why Rulai Ma needed him to go no matter what. Even though Devil Ape Zhong Kong has deep root of wisdom, his experience still wasn't enough. Little monk Ming Xin has enough experience, but when he entered the world of mortals, he had only joined the military and trained inside. In terms of sinister tricks and situational-based reactions, he was much inferior to Qin Mu. Qin Mu had experienced even more dangers, and even faced off with devil gods like Fu Riluo. He could be said to be outstanding among the younger generation, for his ability to adapt to any situation. Other than to comprehend the supreme Dharma, the other motive of Rulai Ma wanting him to go forth was to protect the safety of the devil ape and Ming Xin. "Do I need to shave my head?" Qin Mu asked. Rulai Ma said with a smile, "Have you seen me shave my head?" Qin Mu looked at his head, and he saw that his hair had all turned into mounds of flesh. These were the beads of wisdom refined from his 3,000 strands of worry. Rulai Ma said, "Some people treat their worries as their own obstructions to restrict their own cultivation, therefore they have to shave their head that's full of hair. However, a Buddha refines his worry into his wisdom. The more worries a Buddha had before enlightenment, the more wisdom they have after becoming Buddha. If Rulai doesn't need to shave, why do you?" Qin Mu revealed a smile. "I've learned." The heavens shone brightly hung high above Li City. These heavens looked illusory, but looked at them in detail, they looked extremely deep, having space that was immeasurably wide. In the 20 heavens, huge Buddhas appeared and Buddha voices surrounded them. One of the Buddhas shone down from the 20 heavens, and a ray of Buddha light shone down from the 20 heavens. The other Buddhas also pointed towards this monastery, in Li City, and the Buddha rays gathered to flow into a pillar of light. Old Rulai led the monks to the front of the pillar of Buddha rays, and he nodded his head to the Qin Mu and the rest. Be careful of your journey. Qin Mu nodded his head, and he stepped into the pillar of light, with the devil ape and Ming Xin. That huge pillar of Buddha ray gradually rose and soon entered the 20 heavens. Qin Mu and the rest stepped on the base of the light pillar. They were then brought up into the 20 heavens of the Buddha realm. Qin Mu, Ming Xin and the devil ape stepped on solid ground, and he raised his head to take a look. He saw a huge cluster of monasteries, as well as pagodas, Buddhas, and countless monks. Under their feet was a gorgeous mountain, and looking down, everywhere was Buddhist countries that were covered with gold and jade in glorious splendor. Just one heaven had just wide territory that was comparable to eternal peace. The Buddhist countries stood great in numbers, and they were all living together in harmony. Some monks walked forward to welcome, and he bowed. 3 senior brothers from the lower bound. Amitabha Monastery is right in front, please. Qin and the rest returned the greeting, and he said, May I trouble senior brothers to lead the way? That monk led the way in front, and he said with a smile, Senior brother Zhong Kong's attainments in Dharma is truly profound. I had also listened all the way, and I was in admiration. These 2 little senior brothers are. Ming Xin gave his name in religion, and he said, This is layperson Qin of Great Thunderclap Monastery. The gaze of that monk fell on Qin Mu's body, and he said, Layperson Qin. No wonder you cultivate without shaving your head. Qin Mu gave a smile, and he asked, May I ask which great Buddha is the one that had constructed this Amitabha monastery? That monk said with smile, Layperson Qin might not know, but Amitabha monastery is constructed by Dharma King Mo Lun. He's a Buddha of the celestial heavens who had attained the path. He has countless disciples, and his Dharma is profound. After numerous senior brothers had a taste of senior brother Zhong Kong's attainments in Dharma, and they still want to experience senior brother Zhong Kong's attainments in divine arts. Qin Mu's heart sank, and this Amitabha monastery was probably part of the celestial heavens power. They were the power that was planted in the Buddha realm by the celestial heavens. Old Ma has given me quite a good errand. His head couldn't help aching. Just as they came to the Buddha realm, the power of the celestial heavens wanted to show them their power, and their intention was definitely not kind. Monk Ming Xin said, This senior brother, we are here to seek knowledge and not to compete with our divine arts. After we learn the supreme Dharma, we will return to the lower bound. We don't want to offend the senior brothers. They came to the mountain gate of Amitabha monastery, and that monk said with a smile, Only by competing our cultivation can we know our good and bad. What's there to be offended about? Just go in. After saying so, he gave a push on their backs and pushed them into the monastery before closing the gate. Qin Mu, Ming Xin, and the devil ape looked forward, and they saw a mountain path in front of them. On both sides of the mountain path, there would be a pair of monks every 10 steps. They stood across each other and held a monk staff in their hands with solemn faces. On the peak of Amitabha monastery, a young monk wearing a yellow robe shouted, Pay your respects to Buddha, kneel your way up the mountain. The devil ape and Ming Xin frowned slightly. Ming Xin asked with a low voice, Cult Master Qin, what do we do? Are we really going to kneel and kowtow our way up? Our path of retreat is being blocked. At the mountain gate, numerous monks were trying to create trouble in broad daylight as they blocked the way there. No worries. Qin Mu said with a smile, You guys don't need to make a move, just walk up the mountain. The devil ape and Ming Xin walked up the mountain, and that young monk narrowed his eyes as he shouted, Fight. On both sides of the mountain, the monks swung the monk staffs to smash down on the 3 of them. Qin Mu's sword pellets suddenly flew out and transformed into a huge ball that was 10 yards in radius. It shone bright, and the sword light swirled around the robe of the monk, who wielded the monk staff. That monk stood there naked and didn't know what to do. Senior brothers of Amitabha Monastery. Qin Mu flicked his fingers and the sword ball whooshed up the mountain. Everywhere it passed by, the monks on both sides of the mountain were stripped in an instant. The monks immediately threw their monk staff aside to cover their lower body. Qin Mu asked loudly, "Have you seen such a big Sarira before?" In the monastery of Li City, Rulai Ma led numerous eminent monks to see Qin Mu and the rest being fetched to the Buddha realm. Their cultivations were too strong, so they couldn't enter even if they wanted to. Only Qin Mu, Mingxin, and the devil ape, these 3 divine arts practitioners, whose cultivations were not high and not low, could easily enter the Buddha realm. Rulai, won't there be danger if we let them go by themselves? Monk Jing Ming asked. There's naturally danger, but the danger isn't too dangerous as well. The celestial heavens would definitely supervise the Buddha realm and try to control the Buddha realm, therefore they will definitely beat down on our great Thunderclap Monastery's disciples, and not let them return with their learning. Rulai Ma said with a smile, therefore I had let Cult Master Qin follow over as well. With Cult Master Qin around, there wouldn't be much danger. Old monk Jingming pondered for a moment, and he still didn't understand the thoughts behind it. He still felt there was danger, so he said, "May Rulai please explain for me?" Rulai Ma said, "Buddha realm is still Buddha realm, after all, they are going there to learn. If the people of the celestial heavens wanted to lay their hands on them, they wouldn't bully juniors with seniors, otherwise, the other Buddhas will stop them. With the Buddhas of the Buddha realm around, they still need to uphold some etiquette. If they don't bully the weak with the strong, Cult Master Qin can handle all of them. In fist skills, there's this saying, opening the fight with one fist, preventing 100 from coming over. Cult Master Qin is the person who starts the fight." Old monk Jingming seemed to be in deep thoughts as he said with a smile, "And Mingxin is the person who mediates the situation." Rulai Ma nodded. Cult Master Qin beats people, Mingxin mediates, and if the opponent wants to debate and find a just reason to kill them, John Kong will be up next. In debates, John Kong can make them speechless. Old monk Jingming was full of admiration, as he said respectfully, "Rulai is worthy of the title of great wisdom and knowledge." On the sacred mountain of Amitabha Monastery, that huge Sarira swirled its way from the mountain gate and up to the peak of the mountain. That young monk standing in front of Amitabha Monastery was surprised and furious. His hands moved up and down as he executed the technique of Dragon Elephant Tiger 3 combat. Dragon-shaped, elephant-shaped and tiger-shaped divine arts appeared around his body, and they looked extremely overbearing and fierce. Kai. The light of that Sarira drowned him out, and his clothes instantly turned into butterflies fluttering away. His body was completely bare, and only his shoes were left. That young monk was originally high and mighty, wanting Qin Mu and the rest to kneel their way up the mountain, beating them if they didn't comply. Now, his haughtiness had completely disappeared and he wanted to slip away when he saw the situation was bad. Suddenly, 2 beams of light flashed out from that Sarira and his legs wobbled. He knelt onto the ground and couldn't move. That young monk was ashamed and he hurriedly planted his face into the ground so other people couldn't see his face. On the golden peak, the figures of the great Buddhas appeared to be sitting in the emptiness above, and they looked down with huge frowns. One of the Buddhas flicked his fingers, and that young monk instantly felt his legs being able to move again. He hurriedly covered his front and back to slip away. Suddenly, a name of Buddha rang out as a golden hand flew out from Amitabha Monastery to welcome Qin Mu's Sarira. It should be a kind of manifestation divine art. That huge golden hand clashed with Qin Mu's Sarira and actually gave off a loud copper-like ringing, reverberating throughout the mountains. Under the seat of a great Buddha, there was a cloud hanging above the head of a monk in white, and the divine art had flown out from that cloud. He blocked Qin Mu's sword pellet and he said, "What's a rear? It's merely a sword pellet." That monk in white looked at that huge sarir and chuckled. "Small tricks, just to bring out smiles. See how I take away your sword pellet." A lotus flew out from the cloud above his head, and it flew towards Qin Mu's huge sword pellet. Layers of lotus flower shrouded it and wrapped around the sword pellet. Suddenly, the body of the mountain trembled violently, and that monk in white instantly felt the tremors coming from his feet. Before he even heard the sound, Qin Mu had already rushed up the mountain. Because his speed was too fast, there was even mist rising from both sides of his body. Even though he was going up the mountain, he was as fierce as a tiger rushing down the mountain. His fist broke through the air and the thunder rumbled. The entire Amitabha monastery seemed to have sunk into a sea of lightning. With this punch from Qin Mu, everywhere had thunder and lightning crossing one another. The monk in white raised his hands to receive the attack, and his four limbs felt like they were going to be blown apart. His brain felt like it was going to fly out of his skull and his mind was blown. With a loud explosion, he had already smashed ruthlessly onto the sacred floor. That wall in the main hall had sunk in 1 foot, and that monk in white was embedded into the wall. Surrounding his body was full of densely packed cracks, and lightning was scuttling randomly in his body. Qin Mu raised his hand and the sword pellet flew back into his hand. As for the huge hand and lotus flower from this monk in white, they were actually broken by his sword pellet. The monk in white opened his eyes and his eyes were bloodshot and blurry. He couldn't see Qin Mu who was in front clearly. "This senior brother, your attainments in Dharma aren't there yet." Qin Mu's voice traveled into his ears. "Divine arts aren't the goal of cultivating Dharma. The goal of cultivating Dharma is to get rid of troubles, awakening one's wisdom, and understand life and death. Divine art is only an additional path, and since it's an additional path, what's the difference if I'm using a sarir or a sword pellet?" The monk in white wanted to say a word, but he puked out a mouthful of blood and became dispirited. In midair, the heavy voice of a plump head and big ears Buddha rang out, fallacious reasoning and harmful teachings. "You aren't a disciple of Buddhism, so how dare you fiddle with divine arts in the face of Buddhas?" Qin Mu executed Rulai's Mahaya Sutra, and he greeted the Buddhas with a dignified and solemn face. "Buddhism. Disciple is ignorant. Does Buddha needs to differentiate between followers and all living things?" That Buddha burst into laughter. Glib tongue. He didn't reply Qin Mu's question. In the sky, the great Buddhas sat still. Qin Mu looked around, but he couldn't recognize who was Dharma King Mo Lun. Another Buddha said with a smile, "Buddha indeed doesn't need to differentiate between followers and all living things. However, you stripped the clothes of the monks the moment you stepped up the mountain, and even made my little disciple knelt down. Are you here to seek knowledge, or are you here to create trouble? Buddha also has obscure anger, aren't you afraid? This one here is Dharma King Mo Lun." Qin Mu's gaze landed on Dharma King Mo Lun, and he saw that this Buddha was tall and skinny. He had an amiable face and made people felt they were being bathed in the spring wind. "May I ask Dharma King, does Buddha needs their disciples to kneel?" Qin Mu asked. Dharma King Mo Lun shook his head and said, "There's no need." Qin Mu asked, "So why did you wanted us to kneel our way up the mountain just now?" Dharma King Mo Lun smiled and heavenly flowers fell from the sky while golden springs poured out from the ground. He was about to explain the logic, when Monk Ming Shan finally scaled up the mountain peak, with Devil Ape Zhong Kong. Monk Ming Shan hurriedly said, "Senior brother Qin has offended old Buddhas, disciple seeks your forgiveness." Dharma King frowned slightly, and he was about to speak, when Ming Shan hurriedly bowed in front of a great Buddha. "Disciple pays my respects to Yamaraja." That great Buddha said with a smile, "You recognize me?" Mingxin said, "There are the Dharma characteristics of Yamaraja in Rulai's Mahayana Sutra, thus disciple recognizes. Disciple pays my respects to Sogara Nogaraja." Another great Buddha smiled and nodded in acknowledgement. Mingxin then bowed towards Dharma King Mo Lun and said, "Disciple pays my respects to Kandra Dharma King Mo Lun." Dharma King Mo Lun said with a smile, "You have already paid your respects earlier, it's time to talk about business." Disciple pays my respects to Suya. Disciple pays my respects to Marichi. Disciple pays my respects to Hariti. Monk Mingxin bowed his head all the way to Sakra and raised his head, yet he couldn't see Brahma, so he could only come to a stop. He thought to himself, "I can't delay for time any longer." Dharma King Mo Lun said patiently, "Little monk, you are here to seek knowledge, not to pay your respects to Buddhas. Your senior brother beat up my disciple straight away, after coming up and spewed fallacious reasoning and harmful teachings. If I don't correct him, won't my mountain have a foul atmosphere? How am I supposed to promote Dharma?" Monk Mingxin was respectful and he said honestly, "Buddha, disciple is bad with words, so why don't I invite senior brother Zhong Kong to talk about the logic of this? Senior brother Zhong Kong, come debate with Buddha." Devil Ape Zhong Kong walked forward and stabbed his kakara staff beside him. He put his palms together in front of his chest and didn't speak. Dharma King Mo Lun frowned and he looked at the Buddhas around him. He suddenly laughed, "Little junior brother Zhong Kong, you don't need me to open my mouth, I already understand everything." Qin Mu and Monk Mingxin took a look at each other, and they each took a sigh of relief. Dharma King also gave a sigh of relief and thought to himself, "By the orders from above, I'm assuming an official position in the Buddha realm, and I don't usually read Dharma, so my knowledge can't be compared to the Buddhas of the Buddha realm. Zhong Kong, this black monk, has no obstruction in debating, paving his way from Yamaraja heaven to Brahma heaven without anyone to defeat him. Even the Buddhas refer to him as junior brother, so if I debate with him, I'll definitely embarrass myself." Dharma King Mo Lun said with a smile, "This incident is indeed not layperson Qin's fault. They are here to seek knowledge, so we shouldn't have obstructed. However, Dharma debate is merely fighting with words, we will still have to see each person's comprehension in cultivation." Black. Junior brother Zhong Kong's attainments in Dharma are unmatched, so his divine arts must be astonishing as well. Numerous sons of Buddha in the Buddha realm have comprehended the debating talent of junior brother Zhong Kong, and they even want to comprehend junior brother's divine art. Monk Mingxin was about to say something when Dharma King Mo Lun spoke by himself. "This is Crown Prince Yue Guang, and he is my descendant. I was originally Kandra, Emperor of Moonlight Country. He comprehended Dharma, and one comprehension was like 100 comprehension, becoming Buddha on the spot. After I become Buddha, I left behind Moonlight Country, and Moonlight Buddhist Country is Kandra heavens among the 20 heavens. Crown Prince Yue Guang is my disciple and his Dharma is profound." Qin Mu, Mingxin, and the Devil Ape looked at Crown Prince Yue Guang. This person cultivated without shaving his head, and his clothes were whiter than snow. His hair was worn in a bun, and he had a treasured sword on his waist. There was a bright moon behind his head that would light up the area when bright moonlight shone forward through the slight rocking. Monk Mingxin said to Qin Mu. This Crown Prince Yue Guang had debated with senior brother Zhong Kong, and said a bunch of Buddhist scriptures. Senior brother Zhong Kong only said a word, and he admitted defeat, after thinking for a long time. However, Crown Prince Yue Guang's abilities are truly astonishing. Rulai said he had already cultivated his sword into light, transforming it into a moon behind his head. It's called Moonlight Sword Light. Qin Mu was grateful in his heart, as he knew Monk Mingxin was giving him pointers. He clarified Crown Prince Yue Guang's abilities to let him be on guard. Bat hump. Monk Mingxin knelt on the ground again, and bowed to Dharma King Mo Lun. He said, Dharma King is Candra, and I believe you must be magnanimous. My senior brother Zhong Kong had a debate with the 20 heavens and is already tired. Disciple would like to invite layperson Qin to replace him instead. Much thanks to Dharma King for excusing him. Dharma King Mo Lun frowned and he looked at Qin Mu. Sakura said with a smile, Dharma King, in that case, let layperson Qin from the lower bound to take his place. Crown Prince Yue Guang has inherited your ultimate arts from the celestial heavens, so he rarely has a match among his peers. By competing with this layperson Qin, can also let us see how much have the divine arts of the lower bound evolved. Dharma King Mo Lun could only nod his head and said, Yue Guang, don't hurt the esteemed guest from the lower bound. Crown Prince Yue Guang bowed and said, Disciple understands. After saying so, he walked to Qin Mu and said indifferently, In Candra heaven, I'm invincible among my peers and I feel deeply the loneliness and destitute of this place. Therefore I've entered the celestial to seek knowledge and learned sword in Sword Celestial Palace for 3 years. After he said that, he didn't say another word. Qin Mu said respectfully, I had learned sword in disabled elderly village, and the one who taught me sword was a messy old man, who doesn't have his 4 limbs. I have once. I have never gone to other Sword Celestial Palace and such to learn sword. I had figured them out by myself. Please. Crown Prince Yue Guang stood there unmovingly and he said, It's hard to see the world in the lower bound after all. I can let you make a move first. Qin Mu held Yang Mudra on one hand in front and held Yin Mudra with one hand at the back. He bowed and executed the overlapping palms of yin-yang heaven flipping hands. Crown Prince Yue Guang thought he wanted to pay respects to him, and he accepted it peacefully. Suddenly, a loud explosion rang out as Crown Prince Yue Guang got blown 10 miles away. He crashed into a huge mountain and created a deep hole. Qin Mu flipped his yin hand into yang hand and yang hand into his yin hand. He flipped them over a dozen times in an instant and bombarded 20 to 30 yin-yang heaven flipping hands over, destroying the entire mountain into sheer cliffs and precipitous rock faces. Qin Mu pulled back his hands and waited for a moment. He said helplessly, Dharma King, do you have other crown princes? This video will end here.